Coming up to down Rookie to Roadie, we're going to play our last two league games of the season with Buxton. Hopefully not bowl a spot inside the playoffs, because currently we're threatening to, but before then we've got a job interview with a League Or team. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 34 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Buxton FC. I hope you're doing well and come of day. Going to finish off the league part of the season here with Buxton. You can probably see it there top left corner. We've actually been pretty poor off the back of yesterday's episode. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. But actually coming back a game before I was planning to, because we've got a big job interview offer here from Guingamp, who are a team from over in France, up in League Or. To be fair, they're not doing that well in League Or. They're 5 points from safety, but still only 1 point off Brest, who they could potentially knock back down there, so they could play in a promotion relegation game to try and keep themselves up there in League Or. So certainly, this would be a pretty big step up from Buxton here if we did go to Guingamp, no down in terms of the season preview. Let's go back here and see where they're expected to be there, about where they are currently. So they're not doing too badly. To be fair, that League Or preview is pretty accurate, even down there at the bottom. So Guingamp would be a bit of a challenge, but certainly if they did offer us the job off the back of this interview, it would be pretty hard to turn it down, I'd say, because going from League 2 in England, we were not probably going to get up to League 1 unless we somehow pull off a miracle in the playoffs, up to League Or, that is a big old step up, which we probably could not turn down. So we'll see here how this job interview does go, and also probably if we do get this job, we want to take over as soon as possible to try and get them above Brest, that nice old Brest joke that you can make over there in League Or. But we're not too worried about speaking the language. I think I can learn it in time. We've got some reservations about us because we've never managed in that country. Always been keen, just never had the chance. Now, do we think it's a positive or negative? We've just managed one team. We'll say loyalty. Hopefully that holds us in good stead here. Why do we want to leave our current job? You guys are headhunting me. I did not apply for this job. Have not applied for a single job so far in this save ever since we came to Buxton. I think I want to take the next step in my career. That's what we'll say here. What makes us the ideal candidate to save a club unexpectedly struggling against relegation? To be fair, based on that season preview, mate, not too sure what we'll say. That we consider ourselves here a strong motivator and a leader. Now, when do we want to take charge? I think with the situation that these guys are in, we probably want to get there as soon as possible to try and keep them up in League Or. What does their DOF look like? Is he decent? Not really, mates. Honestly, no, I don't think I want to work with him because he looks like absolute rubbish. In terms of the backroom staff, a fair budget, that would be quite nice. Long-term vision, sign players under 23, play defensively solid football, direct football, and counter-attacking football. Don't think we use too much direct football here with this Buxton team, and also counter-attacking not for a couple of seasons, but the rest of it does look okay. A couple of contract things there in terms of the first team, and just continue to try and avoid relegation in League Or, and also be competitive in the Coupe de France. We'll say that'll be fine. No expectations for this season, there better not be. I don't want that relegation held against me if I only take charge for a couple of games. And honestly, since this is a League R job, I think we don't want to ask for anything, even though maybe a coaching course would be quite nice. But interesting start there to today's episode. Let's see how we get on there with that job interview with Guingamp over in League Or. And unfortunately that was quick because we've gone forward about a week or so and we did not get the job there at Guingamp. So unfortunately no move there to League Or. They have gone with Mattia Clocky Torti, which is a wonderful name. Let's see what he looks like, formerly of Getafe over in Spain. And attribute-wise, kind of wondering why they bothered interviewing us, because he is a bit of a step up on what we're working with currently here with this Buxton team. We're not that great currently, even off the back of the couple of years of success we've had here with Buxton. So that seemed like a little bit of a waste of time, no chance yet to make a move to a top 5 division. But maybe we still have a chance to move to a top flight league in Europe, because now we've got a job interview offer from União de Leiria. So we'll see how this one goes. To be honest, I've got no idea where these guys are from, but they are in the top flight over in Portugal. They are struggling quite a bit though down in 18th, so to be fair, quite a similar situation there to Guingamp. And to be fair, they're in all sorts of trouble. They're rock bottom, 11 points from safety, 6 points from that promotion playoff game. To be fair, they've got 2 games in hand. So again, this might be a quite similar situation here to what we have with Guingamp with that previous interview. So I'll make my way through this. I don't know if I'll talk my way through it like I did with that previous one, which is probably say a lot of the same things that we did there in that previous one. In terms of the atmosphere, we're pretty good at managing that. We've at least done a good job of that when we've been at Buxton. Supporters, we've been pretty good with, and also financial difficulties. I think we are okay with that. The Tycoon takeover, I suppose, does make that a little bit interesting. Again, a team struggling relegation when they weren't expected to. I think for this one, again, we want to take charge as soon as possible. The director of football, again, looks like absolute rubbish. So the same answer as what we gave at Guingamp, a fair budget. If we're going to make some changes, they want defensively solid football, direct and counter-attacking. So I suppose that might be what we're known for here currently with this Buxton team, despite the fact that it feels like currently we're doing a control position wing play type thing here. But there are the board objectives for this job at União de Leiria. Pretty similar to what we saw at Guingamp, just in Portugal. Avoid relegation and be competitive in the cup. So I think we'll be happy with that. We don't really need to know about the budget yet, although it would be quite nice to know if they're going to be really poor. But I think currently, again, the same thing as what we said for Guingamp, and we'll see how that job interview offer goes. Because I dare say that one might be a little bit more achievable, because those guys in the Portuguese league, their reputation not that great, actually in line with what we've got as a manager at 2.5 stars. It would be a challenge, but even then, it might not be too bad even if they got relegated, getting bumped down to the second tier of Portugal. That is the 42nd best league in game. A quick look at what's going on in League 2. I'm going to play Leighton Orient off camera before we come back for the first game of today's episode, if we're still here, because you can see it there. We're kind of not in a good position all of a sudden here with this Buxton team, albeit if we pick up some points, that will change. But let's have a quick look here at the profile of League 2 there. Down there, 76, so indeed, it would be a pretty big jump up from both League 2 as well as Buxton with their 1.5 star reputation. So I guess that's another job that really would be a little bit silly to not take if it got offered to us. Let's see if that interview went a bit better than the Guingamp one. And hold the phone, because only one day off the back of that previous job interview we had at Portugal, now we've got 2 more job interview offers. It's all kicking off here late season at Buxton in League 2. I dare say if I'm Buxton at this stage, I'm not planning to have me next season, because no doubt this will only get worse in the off-season if we haven't taken another job by then. But first up, Oliveira do Hospital. To be fair, it's a brilliant name. Where are they? It sounds Portuguese. They are indeed from Portugal, but this time they are down in that second tier. It's a bit of a step down from those previous job offers that we've been getting, because these guys are just outside the relegation zone in that second tier. So definitely not as good an offer as what we've got with those previous 2, but we'll see what this club is all about. 2.5 star reputation, so to be fair, pretty similar to what we had before from that team up in the top flight. Let's see what they potentially have to say here. I dare say there's going to be very similar to the previous interviews that we've done, so we might just skip through this very quickly. A lot of the same questions that we've been getting in those previous 2 interviews, loyalty and all that about that question. We don't really want to leave our current job. You guys are headhunting me. Again, we get asked about limited resources. That sounds like a challenge I'm up for, because to be fair, at the start at Buxton, well, it was a bit of a struggle until that Tycoon takeover did take place. Now this time, because they're down in the second tier and struggling, I think we say we actually want to finish the season at Buxton before we take over. We'll see if that might make a difference in this job interview, as well as potentially the other one that we are about to have. Now we've got the board culture and all that sort of stuff here. They want us to avoid relegation from the second tier and be competitive in the various cup competitions. So again, pretty similar to the previous job interviews that we have had. I think again, we'll just leave that stuff. We are actually currently studying now for our Continental C license, because Buxton did approve that off the back of the last episode. So we don't need to ask about that. But to round things off potentially, before we finally get stuck into some football in today's episode, yet another job interview offer, this time from over in Germany, Jahn Regensburg. Now, where are these guys currently sitting over there in Germany? They are in the 2 Bundesliga, and they sit in 13th, so certainly not as bad as the Hospital Club over there in Portugal. Let's check out here what the Bundesliga 2 table does look like, they are 12 points clear of the team who do sit in that promotion relegation game. So these guys really should be safely in the 2 Bundesliga for next season, even more so than the Hospital Club. Season preview-wise, they weren't actually expected to be that good, though. All the way down the bottom, to be fair, we've got experience of that with our Buxton team. Interestingly, the best goalkeeper there in the 2 Bundesliga is Leiria, and that probably says the goalkeepers in that division aren't too hot, but Jahn Regensburg are a team who are overachieving. But in the 2 Bundesliga again, like we saw before, it's probably quite a big riser team in the 27th best league compared to Sky Bet League 2, which I think was down around the 70s. So again, probably this is a job interview that we should be going to, but I dare say again, it'll be very similar to what we've copped so far with the other 3. I think here we've always wanted to manage in this country, just not had the chance so far. We've got loyalty, we've shown that at Buxton. Apparently, I think we want to take the next step. Honestly, you guys, you're all asking me to leave. I don't necessarily want to. The club's looking to hire a manager comfortable working with limited resources. I don't mind a challenge. Defying expectations, that's a bit different to what we've seen with those other job interviews. We've actually made a career of pushing teams a bit further than expected, because honestly, so far with Buxton, we've done pretty well each and every season, overachieving. So we'll click that answer. Again, we probably want to take over at the end of the season, seeing as these guys actually not doing too badly. We can then get stuck into the transfer window off the back of hopefully getting Buxton at least into the playoffs and maybe a promotion as well. If we do that though, maybe we then consider staying at the Bucks if Jahn Regensburg do offer us this job. Now, in terms of the budget, again, we want a fair amount of money. There are the board objectives. Sign players under 23, develop players using the club's youth system, so a little bit different to what we saw with the Portuguese and French clubs. Otherwise, all they really want us to do is sign players a bit younger and get rid of the old fellas, which honestly is pretty peak FM, and also avoid relegation, be competitive in the DFB Pokal, and then become established a little bit here of a higher expectation than what we've seen with those previous clubs. We'll accept that, and obviously we don't really care about the rest of the season if we don't want the job until the start of the next one. So that's now 4 job interviews that we have had. Obviously, Guingamp, we're not going there, but 2 Portuguese clubs and 1 in Germany. Let's see how they go before we finally might get stuck into some stuff with Buxton in today's episode. And going forward about a week from those last couple of interviews that we have had, we've got our first job offer here since coming to Buxton. It's from Jahn Regensburg. Now, first up here, of course, this is the team from the 2 Bundesliga, so a pretty decent step up for us here, especially on 4.6k a week, and with a transfer budget of £2.4 million and a wage budget of 160k a week. A quick look at the finances here at Buxton. Our transfer budget is guaranteed next season to be £6,000. So that, for a tycoon owner, is a little bit tight, and the wage budget is 45k, dropping down apparently to 39k a week. So honestly, that looks quite enticing there from Jahn Regensburg. I would quite like to see if we maybe get those offers from Portugal coming as well, just to maybe see if we get the one from the top flight in particular, because that obviously would be a very decent step up here from League 2 in England. And also going over to our profile, we're currently getting paid £525 a week. That's a pretty decent wage rise. Obviously in FM, that doesn't mean a heck of a lot, but still, it's a pretty basic decision when you consider all that stuff. Jahn Regensburg should be pretty safely in the 2 Bundesliga for next season. I'm leaning towards delaying this at the moment, but if we have to choose between this and Buxton, we might be on the move for next season of the save. Also worth considering, of course, that for this job interview, we did say that we'd take over at the end of the season. So this could be a move that does go through going to 2027, 2028. So for now, we'll delay. Buxton, though, do want us to have a board meeting to discuss our future. So obviously, they know that there's interest from other clubs. They want to discuss some terms to try and keep us here. So Cade, get your big tycoon checkbook out, mate, because I want some more money, either in the transfer budget, the wage budget, or personally, I'd appreciate if we were willing to reconsider joining another club and stay here instead. We'd be willing to discuss making it worth your while. Okay, how much can you give me here, Cade? You big Aussie tycoon. Let's see what we can get out of you. They've already done the youth coaching budget and stuff like that. Training facilities as well. Don't really care too much about a new stadium. I think what we want to say here is we want a bigger transfer budget, and he's given it to us. Let's see how big this rises here from Big Cade, the Australian tycoon. Will we get one more Aussie, oi, oi, oi? Not for that. He's increased the transfer budget to 45k. It was something like 2.6 million at Jahn Regensburg's arcade. You might be in trouble for next season, mate, because at the moment, I'm leaning towards a move to Germany. And as I continue to try and make my way towards the last 2 games of this season, which is taking a blooming long time now for those job interview offers that we did have, we have not got the job from Oliveira do Hospital, which is a little bit of a concern, especially because they asked me for staff changes and stuff like that. So it's actually the first time I think I've ever seen an FM where they ask you for that sort of stuff and then don't actually give you the job. But to be fair, those guys in the second tier of Portugal are a little bit closer to going down, so I'm not too disappointed that we haven't got that job offer. I think either way, I would have preferred Jahn Regensburg, but we don't get the option there to go to Portugal with that team. We're still yet to hear, though, from the team in the top flight. So let's see if that comes through before this Northampton Town game. And a few days off back that other rejection from Portugal, now we get our second one, this time from the top flight club in União de Leiria. We are not going to the top flight of Portugal. They've chosen Andre Castro. I should have actually checked the manager who they picked there for the second tier team. He actually doesn't look that great, but obviously has some history working there in the country at Estoril Praia, who are 8th in the second tier. So maybe that's now a job that we might get off an interview for, but still leaning towards Jahn Regensburg, and definitely now, obviously, with that being the only offer we've got on the table, 4 days until the Northampton game. I think before then, we might have our first delay run out, so we'll see if that pops up before this first game, which will finally take place in today's episode with Buxton, because obviously that Jahn Regensburg offer won't go through until the start of next season. But that's now currently our only job offer off the back of 4 interviews. And we've gone forward a full week from that first job offer approach there from Jahn Regensburg. Yet again, we have delayed it because honestly, there's no reason not to, seeing as we won't be taking over until the start of next season anyway. I'm just kind of waiting to see if we get a few more job interview offers before we actually have to make a decision there with Jahn Regensburg. But as I said before, currently, I'm leaning towards joining those guys at the start of next season instead of staying here at Buxton with all the money and at a much higher reputation club in a much higher reputation league. But it does mean now we can turn our attention to Buxton off the back of, let me just check here, 23 minutes in real life of me blabbing on about job interviews we've had here in this game. So in terms of what's happened off the back of yesterday's episode, it's not been very good. I think at the end of yesterday's episode, we picked up that 2-1 win over Crawley Town. Since then, we have been absolutely rubbish. As you can see, drop points there against Mansfield Town. To be fair, it took a late change there to a 4-1 to grab 2 late goals to even draw against that team down there near the relegation zone. So very disappointed with drop points there at home off the back of finally getting one over Crawley Town. Then we had to grab a late equaliser there against Forest Green Rovers away from home, another team that were down near the bottom. Off the back of that, we got beaten by Fleetwood Town 2-1 at home. They're a little bit frustrating, but to be fair, so far Fleetwood Town, apart from the Pizza Cup, is a team we have not beaten so far this season. Unfortunately, they grabbed a winner there just before halftime through Daniel Cox. So our form at home off the back of yesterday's episode has been really poor. We did then pick up some points against Gillingham away and also Hartlepool to round out the month of March. A little bit disappointed there that we grabbed the lead against Gillingham, only to give them an equaliser just as the game was about to be blown up, and then finally returned to winning form against Leighton Orient off the back of those job interviews that did come through. Sebastian Williams making his way back into the team to give us a 1-0 win over a half-decent team. So that's the only win we've picked up in a competitive fixture off the back of yesterday's episode. You can see there, I tried to pick up the morale and the form with a couple of friendlies. Let's hope that that might work here, as we're about to take on Northampton Town, who are definitely a team who could make things interesting for us late on the season, because now we've dropped all the way down to 7th. We are one of only 2 teams not guaranteed to be in the playoffs currently in one of those spots. Both Northampton and Walsall, they could jump above us in these final 2 games of the league season. So really, we need to pick up some pretty decent points in these next couple of games. Otherwise, a big chance that we bottle what looked like a pretty safe spot there in the playoffs for this season, and that would be a pretty disappointing way to potentially end things here at Buxton. So you can kind of see with that form and the job interview offers coming in why I'm leaning towards leaving Buxton with that recent run that we have had, despite the fact that still we are overachieving. But first up, Northampton Town, this away from home, a pretty blimmin' big test, because obviously this is one of the teams that could catch us. If we don't let them beat us though, we should be okay. It would then just be Walsall who could overtake us. And as you can see, their last result there for Northampton, a 4-0 loss to those guys. So really, we want to pick up here a good result, even though it is away from home at Sixfields. A quick update too, in terms of our squad going in to today's episode, just one injury. Chris Zay out with a bruised thigh, 1 to 2 days. He might be back in time for our final game of the season, which is at home against the Shrewsbury team in the bottom half of the table, but hopefully can do something decent here in this Northampton game. And even maybe then, Walsall might drop points, and then that would mean that we wouldn't need to come back for that Shrewsbury Town game, because there would be nothing riding on it. There's no chance that we can get automatically promoted now with that poor form off the back of yesterday's episode. So it's playoffs or bust for us here with this Buxton team. And this first game in today's episode is a pretty massive one, considering that these guys are a team that can catch us now. Compared to our usual best 11 for this first game, Midgley is in there in central midfield. Also Lewis Jones at left wing with Zay still out with that injury. And we've also still got Gunner up front. His recent form a bit better than Alice Lahane. So only a couple of changes to our regular best 11. So fingers crossed here we can put out a really good performance. And I kind of want to wrap things up here in this game, because our final game of the season, despite the fact that recently we've had some massive gaps in between games, that final one comes in about 2 or 3 days' time. So not too sure about the scheduling for that final day of the season. It's been really weird lately. That's the reason we've actually been able to put those friendlies in. There's been such big gaps, and it has meant that we've hopefully been able to try and improve our form and morale off the back of that poor run since yesterday's episode. So I'm kind of hopeful those friendly bashings that we've been handing out might work like they did for that Leighton Orient game, our first win off the back of that Crawley Town one. This time we are away from home. Let's see how we do. But 3 points here as well as some drop points by Walsall. That would be enough for us to secure a playoff spot going in to the postseason, albeit we will still be away from home. So my hopes aren't too high for the playoffs this season here with this Buxton team. But before then, actually have to wrap up a spot. But thankfully, an early interception there as we gave the ball away from a throw. Now Dewuna plays this one forward there to Lewis Jones, just as enough there. Play that one back there to Hewlett. And now we start to get a bit more on the front foot until Williams plays that back to Adelusi. But now some really good short passing here. We try and loop a ball over the top. Unfortunately, Northampton can clear it away somewhat. But Hewlett does step up there and win that ball in the end. Now Jaden Sweeney plays it forward there to Lewis Jones, who makes his way forward down our left-hand side back, and then Sweeney will float this one far post, and Williams on the volley will pound that one into the top left corner just shy of the 10-minute mark. We take a 1-0 lead, so fingers crossed we might have found some form with those friendly victories, as well as that big one over Leighton Orient to turn around some pretty concerning form off the back of yesterday's episode. But that finish is a really good one. Some nice short, sharp passing there in the build-up to that goal, quite a long highlight. But thankfully, we make it 1-0. Walsall are on 77 points. They still could overtake us on the final day of the season. But really, we will hopefully be okay in that game, because Shrewsbury are about 15th, and we're back at the Tarmac Silverlands for that game. But now we move up to 6th as we're on the attack again from a free kick. Of Muir will square that one for Lewis Jones. We're 2-0 up here, just about halfway through the first half. So thankfully, we've turned on OBS today and actually improved our form compared to what usually happens here in one of my series. But that's nice weekly from Muir. Not too sure what the Northampton goalkeeper's doing there, but thankfully he's at a mere, and we make it 2-0. So thankfully, all going to plan so far here. We'll just check and see what's happening around the grounds. And if we hold on for these 3 points, we'll be going into the playoffs. No need to worry about that Shrewsbury Town game. There's a good chance there from a header for Northampton, but thankfully they just put that one wide, still looking a little bit dangerous in terms of the opposition when they get those headed chances, despite the fact that these days we are trying to stop crosses, sometimes can't do it, and we're still a little bit leaky in terms of those chances in the air, but thankfully now we're back on the attack. But fortunate there, the attack along Muir did fall to Sebastian Williams. We cut inside there, that must have been through Lewis Jones, but unfortunately, absolute shocker, he skies that one well over the crossbar. So the first chance we've had that we've been taken so far in this game, but apart from that, it's been a pretty good first half, a 2-0 lead here at Northampton. Now, unfortunately, Ashton Muir has dropped down to a red heart, playing quite well. We'll take him off as well as Lucy on a 6.7 for Leeson, because we just want to hopefully keep some of these guys fresh if that Shrewsbury Town game is important. Also, Lucy is making his way back from a recent injury, so a couple of subs there at halftime. Leeson and Colville, they can come on, and fingers crossed that won't impact us too much. And now a free kick inside the final field. We put that one far post. Unfortunately, can't find someone, but Lewis Jones squares it for Ben Midgley. But a good save there from the Northampton goalkeeper. Still, we are 2-0 up. We're putting all the pressure here on Northampton for a third goal, which we get. Harry Leeson comes off the bench and scores with his head. He's in some pretty good form recently, while Lucy has been dealing with a little bit of an injury. Thankfully, not too serious considering the time it did take place. Quite big gaps around the limited games that we have had, but Leeson comes on and makes it 3-0 and get one more goal here. It might be time for us to fully go all out subs, because we should be in the playoffs for the postseason here with Buxton. Good chance for us there, but unfortunately that pullback did get saved from the Northampton goalkeeper. Another chance for us though here from set piece, where we look to pick out Leeson again. This time we look for Hewlett at the far post. He does not connect. We'll see if anything else happens here from this highlight. Unfortunately, it does not, but 3-0, we look pretty safely in control of this game. So now a few players do drop down to some slightly deeper green/yellow hearts. So I think here we might make some subs a bit earlier than we usually would. Now, Alfie Pinion, we might actually try here in midfield for Ben Midgley, just see what he can do there, seeing as at right back he's not been too hot recently with his lack of any jumping reach. And also Caden Kelly will bring on for Lewis Jones just in case that Zay is not fit for that final game of the season. So just trying to here manage our squad late on in this game, seeing as hopefully we'll now book our spot in the playoffs for the season. About to be a highlight. Before that goes through though, Sebastian Williams has just dropped down to a bit of a deep yellow heart, and he's also a quite injury prone player. So we'll bring on Mohammed for him. He can go to defensive midfield, and Dewuna will put him centrally. Alfie Pinion a bit more attacking. Unfortunately, as that sub goes through, we still see this corner here to Northampton Town, but 3-0 in front with only 15 minutes left. Surely we'll be safe here, but yet again from a set piece and a blimmin' header, we can see that it's Tomlinson who beats Kefs with a ghost in goal and makes it 3-1, but surely we'll still be safe. There are quite a few players who are running around the player who hit it at home there in Tomlinson, but no one bothered to jump, which is a bit of an issue here with this Buxton team. So unfortunately, we concede, which might make things interesting as we make our way to the final 10 minutes, but still, we've got a 3-1 lead. We've been playing really well. Surely we don't stuff things up, but unfortunately, it's Northampton here who are on the attack. Good footing there from Sweeney, but the clearance is not too hot, so it does mean that Northampton are back on the attack. Hallam will get a shot off and put it past Casper. That's a bit disappointing, and now we might be in trouble. Maybe should have started time wasting a little bit earlier in this game. What we might do is put both Dewuna and Mohammed in defensive midfield, because that's actually their natural roles. So 2 balling midfielders late on in this game, and also let's start to time waste fully, because we probably should have done that a little bit sooner, because we were pretty well in control of that game. But late on with a couple of subs just in case we did bottle this, maybe it was a good idea. It might not be in terms of our chances of actually winning this game, but it might actually help us going to that final round of the season, because now if we concede another goal, we might actually need to pick up a result in that one. Casper there really should be saving that poor from him, and also our defence there down our left-hand side. But Northampton coming out strongly late here. We've been all over them the first part of this game. The last 15 minutes, they're certainly finding their way back into this one. Hallam will make it 3-2, but fingers crossed now that we're time wasting, we will be good. But we're about to make our way here into injury time. A thrown inside of the final third. They put it far post, and Harry Hallam will equalise at 3-3. Get my water bottle. What an absolute bottle job that this has been. So off the back of that, before I say cheers, let's start to change some stuff here and go to what we usually would do, because honestly, we've absolutely stuffed this up. We'll put Dewuna there in central midfield. maybe even as a ball wing midfielder on support, because that might be a bit more of a suitable role for him. Also, Pinion, let's get him onto attack. And actually, Dewuna, let's just try and grab a winner late on in this game, because why not? Because honestly, this has been pretty poor in the last 15 minutes. Some of those subs maybe were not a good idea. Let's try and get something going here. No time wasting, a higher tempo going back to pass into space, and also let's be more expressive, distribute quickly, and also do it to the fullbacks. Let's see if we can try and find a way here to grab a winner. But honestly, currently, it feels like Northampton are the team who might pinch 3 points from this game, despite the fact that we had a 3-0 lead early in this half. A really poor finish here from our impact players in this game. Let's see what happens now as we are taking into 6 minutes here of added time. Stats-wise, we've clearly been the better team. We've just absolutely bottled that there at Northampton. We were 3-0 up there quite early in the second half, all over them. I thought those subs were a good idea just to make sure that would be nice and fit in case we needed something from that Shrewsbury game if Walsall did keep things interesting. I'm fresh in my arms at that one. Can't really not do it, but that is a big blown chance to secure our spot in the playoffs for the season. Also, make this episode a bit shorter off the back of all those job interview offers that we did have. So this one could be a little bit of a marathon, because unfortunately we have moved up to 6th, but still within reach of Walsall, who unfortunately do have the goal differential advantage over us. We're going to need here a win on the final day of the season to make sure that we've got playoff football as we take on Shrewsbury back at the Tarmac Silverlands. So unfortunately, we've actually got a second game coming up in today's episode off the back of that absolute bottle job at Northampton. Unfortunately as well, a lot of rotation for this one, because those bottlers are still tied off the back of that quick backup. So it does mean here that we've got quite a few changes. Pinion at right back, we've got Leeson alongside Alalusi, Hewlett does drop out, and there's plenty more as well. It's a very heavy rotation for a game that we might actually need to get something out of Jake Leiria at left back, Mohammed in defensive midfield, Caden Kelly in the advanced playmaker role, Ben Midgley still there in central midfield. We've got Lewis Jones at left wing, and those are all the changes to our regular best 11. The only usual players who are in there are Casper at Alusi, and we've got Lahane back and up front, because Jahn was not too good in that first game in today's episode. But there is Shrewsbury. They've got the Kiwi Max Meta there, who is up front. Actually has been one of the better players in this division this season. Hopefully he won't score against us. Otherwise, we could be in danger of dropping out of the playoffs, which would hurt even more off the back of that 3-0 lead that we had at Northampton. But the first highlight here is for Shrewsbury, who are in the red today. They squared that one there for Max Meta, the Kiwi, who picks up his 21st goal of the season. And we're in trouble at home yet again. We need to come back here and try and secure a playoff spot. Hopefully, maybe Walsall, they'll drop points, but poor work there. That's from Muir. He misses the tackle, and Tugaway can square that one there for Max Meta, who picks up his 21st of the season. Thankfully for now, we only drop down to 7th, because Walsall are still drawing in their game, which ironically is against Northampton, but not a good start. So fingers crossed here that Northampton can do us a favour. A free kick though down the other end. Very fortunately, Harry Leeson has actually found a way there to stay onside from the deflected Mohammed shot. We make it 1-1. So thankfully not behind for too long. Fingers crossed that might get us back up to 6th and above Bristol, just in case that does mean we get an easier fixture once we make our way through to those playoffs, because currently 7th will be a game against Fleetwood Town. Honestly, we've been rubbish against those guys so far this season. So I'm kind of hopeful here that things stay the way they are and we can take on Crawley, because we did beat them second up in yesterday's episode when back at the Tarmac Silverlands. So I'm actually currently not too disappointed with how this table looks. Hopefully can make sure here that we pick up all 3 points and actually do make sure we'll be in those playoffs, but still a little bit touch and go here late on in this season. In this final game, we've got a corner here. We're about to make our way into halftime. Muir will square that one. It comes off the woodwork, so a bit of an interesting chance there for us down our right-hand side just before halftime. Let's see if this does continue. We've got 3 minutes here of added time in the second half, and actually the highlight does continue. Leek now starts to make his way forward down that left-hand side, pulls it back there for Midgley for going back out to Leek. Muir will hit it home that time. It's a better chance. He puts it away. I was wondering what was happening with that highlight, because that first chance was a bit odd. That cross he put in that it looked like the goalkeeper saved and put on the post, but this chance certainly a bit more of a normal one. We float that one far post there through Jake Leak, and a wonderful heel that from Ewer into the ground just inside that near post, and we take a 2-1 lead. We are in front here despite that awful start we got off to, thanks to that goal we conceded to Max Manor, who honestly might not be the worst signing going into next season with some of the striker struggles that we have had recently. But Mohamed's sitting out there on a yellow card. Unfortunately, we don't really have too much cover in DM for this game, so it does mean we're going to have to try as Ben Midgley as that balling midfielder, and Eddie Manning coming back from a recent injury will put him there on instead of Mohamed in that central midfield role. So just one change there at halftime. Fingers crossed this time we actually hold on and pick up 3 points. Again, wouldn't mind that tie against Crawley Town in the playoffs. I think their things might have just changed. We might be taking on Fleetwood all of a sudden, which would not be too good. A great chance there from just outside the box of Shrewsbury, a real rocket, but thankfully that one came off the woodwork. And now Harry Leeson has picked up a yellow card. We'll make here a sub. Jim Hewlett can come off him, just playing things safe here. In this one also, that sub should in theory help us with Jim Hewlett being a regular first team player, but thankfully no equaliser there for Shrewsbury. Now it's so Lewis Jones who picks up a yellow card, so with the next sub, Chris Zay can make his way back from injury, seeing as he is sitting on the bench for this one. Hopefully build up some match fitness before we do get stuck in to the playoffs. And also, Ash Jim is on a little bit of a deep yellow heart, but to be fair, we've still got one more stoppage. We can take Muir off when we need to do another sub here in this game. But indeed, currently, we would actually be taking on Fleetwood Town, but we are seeing quite nicely Walsall have jumped above Bristol, but we're 3 points clear of Bristol. So currently in a good spot. Our last couple of subs here, Henry at right wing, and also we'll bring on Henry Curtis for Adelusi, still coming back from that injury on a 75-minute restriction. So that's our final couple of subs here in this game as we look to hold on to this 2-1 lead, but currently we look okay to be making our way into the playoffs, which is quite nice there, as Walsall, they make it 2-0 over, I think that's Mansfield. So that doesn't really change too much for us here at the moment, seeing as Bristol, I think they're losing their game. But now Zay on the attack here, pulls that one back for Caden Kelly. It's a good free kick routine. That makes it 3-1. And with only 5 minutes left in this game, let's start time wasting. No 2 DMs today, because that clearly didn't work in that previous game. But surely now we've got a 3-1 lead. That should see us spot in the playoffs, if only we did that in that previous Northampton game, and this one would not matter. But thankfully, despite the fact here that we have done quite a bit of rotation, some of the players we have brought in have done the job for us, and it looks like we'll seal our spot in the playoffs. But we've just made really hard work of it in the last month of the season with those poor results that you guys would have seen going to the start of today's episode. But this game does have a fair bit of injury time, 8 minutes of it, just checking here around the grounds. We're still playing Fleetwood, which you don't think I'll be too happy with, because those guys have had a number in every competition apart from the Pizza Cup this season. But thankfully, we come back there from a very early Max Manor goal and pick up a 3-1 win. So thankfully, making amends there for that big bottle job at Northampton. We get a result there at home against Shrewsbury Town. That does seal our spot in the playoffs here of League 2 this season. And it looks like it will indeed be against Fleetwood, because those guys got held to a draw by Northampton. So Crawley Town did jump above them. Not too sure then actually who Walsall were taking on, but they have snuck up to 7th above Bristol Rovers. So we've made our way through to the playoffs now, first season here in League 2. But unfortunately, we're taking on a little bit of a bogey team in Fleetwood Town. So we made blimmin' hard work of it there with that Buxton team in the last month of the season. Lots of draws and drop points, in particular that 3-3 draw with Northampton off the back of having a 3-0 lead, but thankfully we qualify 6th there for the playoffs. Really, we actually blew a really good chance there for automatic promotion with some of those games that we should have got something out of late on in the season. That big chunk I play off camera, that's the costly one, which means we don't go up automatically, but thankfully still got some playoff football here this season. Unfortunately, there's been no scheduling of the fixture yet for the playoffs, but surely it'll be Fleetwood Town in that first round that we do get, and then if we can get past them, it will be one of Crawley or Walsall that we do take on in the final to try and make our way up to League 1. But it is now time to make an actual decision here on this job offer from Jahn Regensburg, because we cannot delay it anymore. I fear he will try and delay it for one more week, but unfortunately we've already done it twice. We've got to make a decision here now. Of course, this won't go through until the start of next season, So we would still be playing the playoffs here with this Buxton team, fingers crossed, and leave them on a high, maybe get them up to League One. But I think here we start negotiations as really, it's a bit too good of an offer to turn down, even though these guys were expected to be pretty rubbish in the 2 Bundesliga this season. The worst team, I think those odds even have got a bit longer since we had that job interview earlier on in today's episode. They do look like they should be safe, 8 points clear, and I think they've only got 3 games left this season. They should still be in the 2 Bundesliga next season, so there's no danger of them going down, you'd think. So I think what we're going to do here, considering it's a much higher reputation league, they've got a lot more money. Our tycoon owner here at Buxton, the money seems to have dried up there for the Australian with that big boost earlier of 40k to the transfer budget, try and keep us here when these guys have 2.4 million that we can spend next season. Really, not much debate. The wage 4.6k a week compared to our £500 a week. I think we're probably going to Jahn Regensburg for next season. So our first move in the save, let's just get here into the negotiations. If we can get rid of that relegation wage drop and also maybe try and get this up to 5k a week, that would be quite nice, getting paid about 10 times what we are at Buxton. Yeah, that's probably too good to turn down. So it's going to be our first move for the save from Buxton in League 2, fingers crossed maybe in League 1 to the 2 Bundesliga with Jahn Regensburg going to the start of next season. But of course, that will not go through until the end of the season. So it does mean that we're still at the playoffs here with this Buxton team once they eventually do get scheduled, because still that has not taken place. Not too sure when those playoffs they will be, but surely it's against Fleetwood Town, and we'll see if we can make our way through to a playoff final in tomorrow's episode. But that will do it for today's one. Obviously, quite a long one with all those job interview offers that we did have, and also confirming our first move of the save come the end of the season. But if you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until tomorrow, which could be our last couple of games here with this Buxton team in the first round of the playoffs when we take on Fleetwood Town. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.